vocabulary. So if there is a diary like this, I dedicate one entire page for a particular word. Okay, you write the
Okay.
word, you write
Mm-hmm.
the word, you write the meaning of that particular word thoroughly. Okay, whatever you have searched on the internet, try to find a simpler synonym for it. Now, what will that simpler synonym do for you? It will help you to correlate with that word very easily. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so you write the meaning of that word, you write the synonym, a very simple synonym for it, so that it gives you a better understanding of that particular word. Then the job of internet is done. You have to shut it down. After that thing and revise it time and again. Revision is extremely important in terms of vocabulary. Okay.
Yes.
When you hear some prolific speaker like Shashi Tharoor speak,
Mm-hmm.
I think you have a good command over this language. You are making very less grammatical errors, right? I heard you make use of the word like eradicate, which most people don't do it, right? So you are trying to incorporate a lot of good vocabulary words. So you have to keep on doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
When you mentioned to me that you have a sort of a problem with pronunciation, I could not find it when you were speaking initially. Okay. It's just
Mm-hmm.
later on when you mentioned to me that I.
My name is Mahsina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I come from Assam. On
Okay.
top of that, I am a housewife, mother to two kids.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, I run my YouTube channel by the name English with Mahsina.
Okay.
Furthermore, I have
Nice.
been learning English since 2022, as well as I have been also helping some learners. It's been
Mhm.
1.5 years to improve their spoken English confidence.
Okay.
And in my free times, love spending time with my kids, going
Okay.
for an outing, watching English content. Yeah,
Okay.
this
Right.
is.
Okay. Thank you, Masina, for that introduction. Well, as you can see, my name is Choden, and I'm a tutor here at EnglishYaari. Now, I'm from Darjeeling, and I've always been this English language enthusiast, and I'm into public speaking for the past 3 years. Okay, so you tell me, Masina, or like, what are the areas of improvement that you want to make in your English communication skills, right? I'm sure there has been a certain objective behind why you've joined a platform like this. So can we start with what are the areas of improvement that you want to improve in your communications
Yeah, first
skills?
of all, pronunciation, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel that pronunciation is the important thing when it
Okay.
comes to speaking English. As I come from a village, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any kind of environment. So I
Mm-hmm.
used to mispronounce most of the words. Even I even didn't imagine that I was mispronouncing. So I
Okay.
have been taking feedback from my tutors, and I have
Mm-hmm.
been trying to do tongue twisters. Even I had problem of just sound, was sound
Mm-hmm.
problem, but right now I
Mm-hmm.
am able to pronounce correctly. At times
Okay.
in a flow, I mispronounce. So
Mm-hmm.
pronunciation is the first thing, and secondly, my grammar is not bad. However, at
Yes.
times I make some silly mistakes here and there. I want
Okay.
to eradicate that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And third, vocabulary. There is no end of learning vocabulary.
Right.
So the more I think I can increase, I can speak concisely, precisely. So I want
Mhm.
to speak in concise and in a crispy way. These
Mm.
are the areas of, yeah,
Okay.
improvements I want to. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So when you talked about pronunciation for that matter, right? I've always said this to all my learners also, and I'm going to give you a very similar um, thing that I have to share with you as far as pronunciation is concerned. That it is like a rule book. You know, it is like a traffic signal. How red symbolizes stop, how yellow in a traffic signal will symbolize wait, and how green will tell you that you are supposed to walk, right? So it is universal wherever you go, in whichever 195 countries that you set your foot. Basically, this particular rule is going to be universal everywhere, right? The rule is applied in each and every country. Such is the matter with pronunciation also, right? If there is anything that you're mispronouncing it becomes imperative on your part that you correct the pronunciation of it. Why am I telling you this? Because it becomes important. See, if you're speaking in a very fluent manner but then you make up mispronunciation, then there are times that
Mhm.
people are going to entirely judge you on the basis of the pronunciation that you have, right? So
Right.
whenever you come across a word you've not heard in your entire life, you first enunciate each and every word as per the spelling of that particular word, okay? And
Mm.
then after that is done, then you can go on, like, you can surf on the net and try to find which is the correct pronunciation for it, and you go by that pronunciation. That's extremely important, okay? Like, say for example, how would you pronounce this word? Okay, I'm going to give you a word in the chat section. How will you pronounce this word?
Hi. Lasagna. Is
Yeah.
it I? Is it I? First one?
No, it's very simple. It's L, right? So
Okay,
L
yeah.
A
Lasagna,
S
yeah.
A G N A. Yeah. So everybody goes by this enunciation. When we enunciate this word, it sounds like lasagna. Okay.
Yes.
Now it is lasagna. The correct pronounce
Lasagna.
Yeah, the correct pronunciation for it is lasagna. But you see here that the G is not required. The I is missing here. But yet we say lasagna. Okay, this is the correct spelling. I mean the correct pronunciation of this word. Okay. Now, if you go by the simple enunciation, the simple spelling of this word, then it has to be lasagna. There is no other way you are going to pronounce it. You will, in this entire world, you will not be able to figure out that this word will be called as lasagna.
Lasagna, yes, yes, true.
But when you find the pronunciation for it, then you have to stick to the correct pronunciation. Okay, lasagna is basically like a pasta dish that you find, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like a baked pasta dish. Okay, so the pasta is applied, then
Pasta. Okay.
then you apply some minced, then you apply a thin layer of like maybe tomato sauce. Then you add a little bit of your protein. Okay, whatever kind of protein that you prefer. It could be chicken, it could be paneer if you're a vegetarian, right? Then after that another layer of pasta goes into it, and then it is baked all together, right? So when that baked pasta comes out of the oven, it is known as lasagna. Okay, but if you go by the spelling of it, then everybody is going to say lasagna, right?
Yes.
But first initially you have to go by the spelling of the word, enunciate each and every word as per it, as how it is, okay? And then
Yes.
trying to find the correct pronunciation for it and stick to the
Mhm.
pronunciation that the internet provides you with. Okay, that's very important. Now, the next thing that you mentioned was a grammar portion, right? Like, people, it's allowed. Minor grammatical errors that you make here and there is allowed, because no matter even the most prolific speakers who speak on a stage for a very long time, okay, they also have this tendency to make slight grammatical errors here and there. So that should not be an issue. That should not be an area of focus at the moment. And now, because I know and I'm interacting with you, I can see that there are minor ones which does not require immediate attention. Okay, so if there is any major grammatical errors, then that's something that needs to be addressed. But on your part specifically, I don't think that needs to be addressed, and
Mhm.
eventually it's going to get eradicated with more practice and with more consistency. Okay, so that is not something that you have to worry about. The third one that you mentioned was about vocabulary, and you are very correct when you said that vocabulary has no limits.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
it becomes very important to incorporate vocabulary, because after a point of time, if you make use of very simple language for that matter, then you and your children who will be 10 years of age in coming years, basically, right? You will be speaking the same language, and there will be no distinction between you and your kids. Okay, that's because they're also very smart these days, so they will also be able to communicate in English, in the simple English that you are doing. Okay, so how is it that we are going to distinguish ourselves from these kind of individuals who are already smart and who already have a good command over this language? Okay, it is through vocabulary. So it becomes absolutely important that we develop this kind of vocabulary. We have good level of words with us. Okay, that becomes absolutely important. Why? Because it gives you an edge, each and every
Mhm.
one. In India also specifically, we are a country where at least 80% of the people know how to speak in English, basically, right? But there are
Mhm.
very few people who will make use of good vocabulary words. So in order to set yourself apart from other people, other speaking English speaking people, the only thing that you need to be doing is to improve and enrich your vocabulary, right? So I'm going to ask you one question, Masina.
Mhm.
Whenever you encounter a new word, okay, whether you're reading a book or when you are watching any news, any podcast, any listening to any podcast, watching any movies or TV series, when you come across a word that you've never heard in your life, you don't know the meaning of it, what exactly do you do?
Okay. Earlier, I used to click, even now also I do. I click on Google. I just write that word and I learn how to pronounce. That is the first thing.
You just Google that
Google,
particular word.
Google, then I learned meaning. But nowadays, I started taking help from ChatGPT because
Okay.
if I learn from ChatGPT, ChatGPT provides lot of mean sentences, example
Mm-hmm.
sentences, and meaning as well. That in which context I can use. So that
Mm-hmm.
is also important. Only knowing the meaning of the word, but if I don't know in which context I can use,
Mm-hmm.
then it is completely absurd, I would say. So I
Right.
learned the meaning. I learned the pronunciation from Google. I learned the
Mm-hmm.
meaning from ChatGPT with some example sentences. Then I try
Mm-hmm.
to use in my day-to-day life. I try to relate with my
Mm-hmm.
real life.
Okay.
Then
So
it
has
becomes,
that does that exercise help you on a regular basis? Are you being able to incorporate those words in your active vocabulary?
yeah, some of them, but I can say I have written a lot of vocabulary in my notebooks, but I'm not able to use all those.
Mm-hmm.
However, it has helped me to understand people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'll tell you one thing, okay? I think one of the gravest mistake that we ever do whenever we come across a new word is that we search it on the internet, okay? We want to know what is the meaning of it. If that particular character from a movie has used that word, we want to know exactly what it means so that we understand the context in a much more clearer and better way, right? So we go on the internet, we search on about that particular word. Now we know the meaning of it, okay? And then what happens is most people they just stop their they stop that entire thing altogether. They're like, okay, now I know the meaning of it, and that's okay, and then they shut it down, right? But
Mhm.
when you do that kind of exercise where you're just having a look over that particular word on the internet, then it really does not help you much with you being able to incorporate it in your own vocabulary. Okay,
Mhm.
what it does at the most is that you will understand that word, so when next time another person is using it, you'll be like, ah, I know the meaning of this particular word, right? But it becomes very difficult for you for you to incorporate it in your own
Mhm.
vocabulary and to use it. Okay, so I would like to say, Masina, that you should continue writing whatever words that you're learning in your diary. Okay, like we can have a diary like this. I have a separate diary only for vocabulary. So if there is a diary like this, I dedicate one entire page for a particular word. Okay, you write the word, you write
Mhm.
the word, you write the meaning of that particular word thoroughly. Okay, whatever you have searched on the internet, try to find a simpler synonym for it. Now, what will that simpler synonym do for you? It will help you to correlate with that word very easily. Okay. And so you write the meaning of that word, you write the synonym, a very simple synonym for it, so that it gives you a better understanding of that particular word. Then the job of internet is done. You have to shut it down. After that, what you have to do is you have to construct your own sentences using that word in different context. Okay, in
Mhm.
different contexts, you have to try to construct your own sentences. Then what you can do is whenever you take a session with Pritam Pradhan or with me or with any other tutor for that matter, you can always tell them that, see, I've come across a word, okay, and I have tried to construct a few sentences over it. So can you see if it is grammatically correct? Have I
Okay.
used it in the right context? You can do all these things, okay, with your tutor,
Mhm.
and they will tell you exactly if you've made a correct sentence or not, right? But only now that the full exercise has been done, you've wrote the meaning of that word, you found a simple synonym for it, you've constructed a few sentences in different contexts using that word, but you will still not be able to incorporate it. Why? You'll have to go back to that thing and revise it time and again. Revision is extremely important in terms of vocabulary. Okay,
Yes.
when you hear some prolific speaker like Shashi Tharoor speak,
Mhm.
okay, he
Yes.
makes use of very complex vocabulary words at times, right? But he's able to do it with such finesse and with such
Effortlessly.
right, and so much
Mm.
of confidence. The reason being is that he has done it time and again when he's not
Yes. Since
when
his
nobody.
childhood, I have watched his videos. He has
Yeah.
mentioned, I have been reading books since
Mm-hmm.
my childhood. So those
Right.
vocabulary has come to me naturally.
Mhm.
It's not like
Yeah.
that I just learned it deliberately.
There will be so many learners who might have had this environment where they can actually speak in English.
Yes, if someone has environment, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they might have that environment with them where they can speak in English, but it does not necessarily guarantee that they will have that they will be enriched with their own vocabulary. No. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that with enrichment of vocabulary, it is on your part, it is on the learner's part. How much is it that you want to learn? Okay, there are
Mhm.
some learners who have told me that, when I come across a word and I see that this particular word is not being used by most of the people, I kind of ignore it. No, but that kind of approach is a bit wrong. See, you
Okay.
are not being able to, people around you are not using it. It does not mean or does not guarantee that the other people don't know how to use those words, right? So you should always be on the lookout of, trying to know more about that particular word. Okay. So initially, you have to force yourself to use those words
Mhm. True.
until and unless after 10, 20 revisions, now eventually this word will start coming naturally to you. I'll tell you, I'll give you one incident where I had come across a word like emaciate. Okay, this was the word emaciate. Okay, I had come across this word emaciate in one of the books. Okay, and the meaning of this word is that you starve yourself basically to an extent where your body starts shrinking. Okay, that was the meaning of it, and that is, I just had read about that particular word in a random book. Okay, and I did not know how to use it. I had never used it, never incorporated it in my vocabulary. But when I was having a conversation with Pritam Pradhan, our tutor, um, about Lord Buddha, okay, because I'm Buddhist. So I was just giving him a little insight about my religion, basically. And when I was started talking about it, there is a time in Buddha's life when he emaciates himself. Basically, he starves himself when he is meditating. Okay,
Mhm.
so that word automatically and naturally came to me. I could not fathom from where that particular word came and how I was being able to use it. Okay, but
Mhm.
that word has struck to me at the right time, at the right opportunity, because I have done my homework multiple times. I've done the revision for it multiple times. Okay. So you do the revision for that particular word. Okay. It does not have to come naturally to you at that given point only. Okay. But after 1 month, after 2 months, you will see that you will be able to incorporate that in your active vocabulary. So with vocabulary, first initially you have to force yourself to use those words. Okay. And then eventually it will start coming very naturally to you, innately to you. Okay, that's very important.
Okay. So,
Okay, that's it.
mm, okay. Should I learn vocabulary every day deliberately? That okay, today I'm going to learn at least two vocabulary, or whenever I come across any new vocabulary,
Mm-mm.
then only I should learn. How
No,
should
no,
I?
no.
Okay.
I don't think that you should force yourself to continuously go and look for a new word and try to incorporate it. No.
Okay.
Anytime, whenever you're watching any sort of content, or for the matter of fact, whenever you're having a conversation with the tutors, also, if they're
Mm-hmm.
making use of a word that you have not heard in your life, it's not a part of your vocabulary, you don't know the meaning of, you can interject and you can tell them, "I'm sorry, I did not understand the word that you used. Can you please tell me the meaning of it? Can you tell me in which context am I supposed to be using it?" This is a perfect platform for you to do that. For you
Yes.
to do that. Okay.
Mhm.
So any sort of content, no matter it be a reading practice that you're doing on your own, or watching a movie, watching any interview or podcast, you come across a word and you feel like, wow, this is a good word that I would want to incorporate. Okay. Or the tutor is making use of a very good word I would like to incorporate in my vocabulary as well. Then you do the homework that I've mentioned to you. Okay, it's not necessary, you don't necessarily have to sit in a day with an agenda that I have to learn 2 words. No, you cannot do that, right? So at least maybe like 4 words or 3 words maximum in a week is more than enough. Okay, so this is how you go about it. So you write it in your diary, write the words, write the meaning of it, and go back to it and revise. People don't do that. People don't revise. But you
Revision is important.
yeah,
Yeah, revision is.
revision is extremely important in terms of vocabulary. So that is something that you should be doing at your end. And any other questions that you have for me, Masina? I'm so sorry. Today I was just talking to you a lot because I think this was just an introductory phase. If you ever happen to come and take a session with me, then we'll definitely stick to a session note, right? But
Right.
if there is any other query that you have, then I would like to address it for you.
Okay. I would like to ask you one thing because I also have read some books. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that when it comes to spoken English, using vocabulary that is different. when
Mhm.
it comes to bookish language or bookish
Right.
words. What do
Mhm.
you think about it?
See, there are a lot of people who read a lot. They are like voracious readers, okay? They're avid
Mhm.
readers, and they have been able to draw a lot of inspiration from the books they have read, and that is how they have learned and improved their communication skills in English also. Because everything that they do, basically, right, it helps them. Uh, See, learning any language for that matter, there are four facets to it, okay? It's
Yes.
reading, it's
Mm.
writing, it's listening, and it's spoken English. So if reading is helping you, then it's good or well and good for you, okay? But I'll talk about my journey. I've never been an avid reader myself. I am not a voracious reader. It's very shameful to admit at times, but I have read very few books in my life, okay? Yet I feel like I have managed to have a little bit command over this language. Now, what have I done different then from those people who love reading? Well, I have consumed a lot of my content in English, basically, right? So, any watching, if I'm watching any movie, any TV series, if I'm listening to any podcast, if I'm listening to any interview by a celebrity, I'm watching any news, right? I make sure that I consume all of my content in English. I do not consume it in my vernacular language, which is basically Nepali, right? I know Nepali, I know Hindi, I know a little bit Bengali too, but I don't make use of it whenever I'm consuming any sort of content. I make sure that I watch all my movies in English because it is also very important. That is the easiest way to learn any language. When you
Yes.
start watching a lot of movies,
Yes. We have learned our mother tongue like this way by listening to our parents.
definitely, right? I have learned my Hindi because my mother used to watch the daily soaps all the time, okay? And when I was growing up, I was basically, I used to sleep with her. So what happened was, because she used to watch all these serials after dinner, I also started watching it, and that's the only reason why I have been able to be a little bit fluent in my Hindi as well, right? So that is the way. Actually, that is the easiest way to learn any sort of language. Try to have those when you don't have that environment where you can actually speak and learn English, then you create those environment for yourself. So passive form of learning that I'm mentioning to you, whether it is reading a book, whether it is watching any interview, any podcast, any movie, any TV series, do it in English. You cannot watch your content in your vernacular language and then expect your English to get better. That's not going to happen, right? You have
Yeah.
to familiarize yourself or customize yourself in that particular language so that now you become very comfortable with it. Okay, so I have done that is the only thing that I have done with my English because otherwise I've had my own struggle with English. Okay, I've had my own
Did you
struggles.
study in an English medium school?
Yes, I did study in an English medium school, and I have done 13 years of my schooling in a convent school, okay? And like if it is a convent school,
Convent school. Yeah.
everybody speaks very well in English. But that was not the case with me. I had my own struggles with English. Okay, having said that, I still worked on it. So it is not something very difficult to do. So as long as we're open to learn, as long as we are consuming our content in English, we don't shy away from learning English, I think this is the way to go about it. Okay, most of the times there are a lot of learners who fear English. Basically, it is not to be feared. This is a mental block that we all have that I will not be able to speak in English. I feel very scared. I'm intimidated by this language. No, you don't need to. Okay,
Mm.
initially we can start, we all start slow. Initially, we all start with basics, simple English, right? And then after that, we work on each and every facet like pronunciation, like enunciation, like maybe on the vocabulary aspect, and that is how we get better at it. So there is nothing to fear really. And you can start learning English at any age for that matter, right? So it's just a language. We have to see it like any other language. That's the only thing that I have to say. And
Yeah.
yes, so it's good to hear you, Masina, because when I interacted with you, although it was a very brief today, I think you have a good command over this language. You are making very less grammatical errors, right? I heard you make use of the word like eradicate, which most people don't do it, right? So you are trying to incorporate a lot of good vocabulary words. So you have to keep on doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
When you mentioned to me that you have a sort of a problem with pronunciation, I could not find it when you were speaking initially. Okay. It's just
Mhm.
later on when you mentioned to me that I